Welcome back to Ion Motive. It has been a minute. I have not put out an episode in quite some time. It was pretty busy finishing up with school, with exams and things like that, but I am so happy to be doing this once again, and I'm so happy, so grateful that you're listening to today's episode of Ion Motive. Really, my big goal for this episode is just to talk about my plans for the show going forward, what I would like to do, what I want my overall mission, my overall theme to be, and then after that I'm going to talk about why you should find a way or ways to struggle this summer, how to use this summer to develop yourself. Before we do that, I do have some small changes and updates that I would like to talk about before we really get going. So first of all, I did change the podcast art, the podcast cover. I don't really know what you would call that, but basically the picture that pops up when you click on Ion Motive on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. I changed that, so just in case that looks different, I did that. Nothing to worry about. Also, I have been working on the shirts a lot more. I wanted to get them out sooner, but unfortunately with school that was not able to happen. But I've made quite a bit of progress with those. I plan on ordering some samples very soon, and once I do that, and once I like the designs, once I finalize some of the products, I'll get those available to you guys, and they will be available to purchase on my website. I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. Besides that, there's nothing really new going on. I'm home for the summer and just plan on doing this quite a bit. Thank you for coming back even after the considerable break. It really means a whole lot to me, and I'll do my best to continue to push out content that you enjoy, content that you find valuable. But with that being said, nothing more to talk about. Let's get into today's episode. I really just wanted to talk about my plans going forward because I haven't put out an episode in a little while, and I think what I plan to talk about has changed quite a bit. Not really. I'm not going to change these episodes up a whole ton. It's not going to be a full 180, but there are some things that I want to base these episodes around. Some goals I have, some things that I think are really important, and all of these episodes going forward are going to be based around these things, at least for now. Obviously that could change, but for the moment, that is my plan going forward. So what are these things? Well, the very first thing I really want to talk about is character and integrity. There are a lot of self-improvement podcasts, and I've said it a million times, but I don't really like that term, self-improvement, self-help. I think it's kind of vague and doesn't mean a whole lot. But there are a lot of podcasts that teach you how to gain extrinsic success, how to move forward extrinsically, how to move forward in business, how to make more money, how to advance yourself. And it's a very outward process. So with this podcast, my goal is to challenge you to look more inward, to focus on who you are, to try to change things, not from following any specific keys to success, not from doing what other self-help gurus tell you to do, but from looking inward and trying to figure out a lot of things for yourself. And I'm going to try to share insights, try to share information that might be of value to you, but ultimately, that is a process that you have to go through to develop your character, to develop your integrity. Because really, at the end of the day, I don't think there's a whole lot more important things than trying to develop who you are as a human being, trying to become a better individual, a person that really is just who they actually are, right? I want you to be able to think one way, say things one way, and then act in the same way. We're trying to become one. We're trying to really become who we were meant to be. So that's one of my goals for this podcast. So for example, I'm trying to look at how you live your life on a daily basis. So are you holding yourself accountable? Are you staying disciplined? And not just in one area of your life, but in every area. Are you one whole person? Are you always acting in the manner that you should act? I will admit that this does just kind of pour into the overall self-improvement, but I just wanted to try to clear that up, trying to specify that. And that might be a bit confusing, but I'm sure as I put out more episodes that are based on this idea, it'll start to make more sense down the road. The next two things I want to talk about are pretty related. So the second thing overall that I want to talk about is mental health. And I don't mean this in just a specifically psychological mental illness related sense. I'm just talking about your overall mental well-being, whether you're struggling with a mental disorder or not. I'm just talking about this in a sense that's for everybody, really. With this, one of my goals is to really try to help men embrace their mental health. For a lot of guys, I know it can be a challenge to talk about their mental health for a number of reasons that we won't get into today, because if we do, this podcast will go on for 2 hours. But there are so many things that I think men struggle with in terms of mental health. So I'm going to try to help change that in any way I can, try to show men that, hey, it's a part of your life and it's a part of your life that you need to embrace. This leads me into my third goal for the podcast. I want to spend quite a bit of time talking about the value of a strong, resilient mindset, because mindset will carry you through a lot of things. If you have the right attitude, if you have the right beliefs, and if you have the commitment, you're going to be able to handle a lot of life's problems, a lot of life's challenges. But if you don't have that mindset that you can keep moving forward, that you can face obstacles and overcome them, then it's going to be very difficult. So I'm going to share any information that I find valuable relating to mindset, because, like I said, it's just one of those things that I think a lot of people really struggle with, but it is one of those things that you can really develop with a lot of effort, with a lot of consistency, and with some help. Ultimately, I think if you have a mindset that is centered on moving forward, you will be able to handle the issues in the present. So these are the three things I really want to talk about. Number one, character and integrity. Number two, mental health or mental well-being. And number three, the importance of a resilient mindset. And I plan on doing this through my own talks, just me talking, but I plan to do this with some more interviews, especially in the summer. Now that I have some more free time, I'm going to try to get some more guests on the show. All right, now that we've got that cleared up, let's get into the meat of this episode. I'm going to talk about why you should use this summer as a time for your personal development. As you might have noticed, this episode is titled A Summer of Struggle, and I really think that's what your free time should be. Maybe you disagree, and that's okay with me, but if you have a vision of who you want to become, then the summer is usually a great time to focus on becoming that vision, on trying to reach that aspiration. Because most of my listeners are my age, maybe a little bit younger. I know there are some older listeners as well, but if you're in the same boat as me, maybe you're finishing up with high school, maybe you're finishing up with college, maybe you just got some free time for whatever reason. It's easy to spend this time doing things that do not necessarily push you to becoming who you want to be. Now, by no means am I saying don't enjoy your summer. I plan on doing a lot of fun things this summer. I plan on going fishing. I plan on playing volleyball and basketball with some of my buddies. I plan on going to the lake, doing all kinds of things like that. But if you're trying to reach this aspiration, it is important that you stay consistent, that you push yourself even in times where you might not necessarily want to do so. I think there is this negative connotation around struggling, but really, if you think about it, struggling is not a bad thing. Struggling is a good thing. Anything that is worthwhile will require a struggle at one time or another. Struggling in the process of doing something simply means you are growing and you are getting better at that one thing. A few episodes back, I talked about the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And it's easy to have a fixed mindset around struggling. We think we should just be perfect at everything, that we think we should just be good at everything we do, that it should just come easy. But in reality, that's almost never going to be the case. If you are not struggling, you are not growing. I struggle in almost everything I do. I'm struggling in the gym. I'm struggling in school. I'm struggling working on this page. This page is a pain in my ass a whole lot of the times. It's difficult. I've never done anything like this. I'm not an artsy creative guy, but I enjoy the struggle. I feel myself growing. I feel myself becoming better with the process. So what am I getting at with this? I am trying to challenge you to struggle this summer, to find a way to move closer to your vision, to move closer to your goals. However you might do that, you should always be struggling so that you're always growing. And that is my challenge for you. If you put in the time now, your future self will thank you for your present efforts. And again, like I said at the beginning of this episode, this might be an extrinsic goal. Maybe you're trying to get a new job. Maybe you're trying to launch into a new career. Maybe you're trying to make more money. Maybe you're trying to lose X amount of weight. Whatever it might be. Maybe instead of looking outward, trying to achieve some extrinsic goal, I'm going to look inwards and try to better my intrinsic being. There are many things that I can work on that will make me a better person, that will benefit those around me, that will help my future self, my future relationships. So it doesn't always have to be an outward goal, right? It can be an inward goal. And that is probably more important than most extrinsic goals, right? So find some way to struggle, find some way to push yourself, and you will grow. You will be thankful that you did so. Here are a couple of ways that you can actually go about doing this. And this is not any kind of formula. This is not a step-by-step process because, again, it is an internal process a lot of the times. It is finding out what works for you, finding out what you need to do, and then embracing that and working through that. But here are just a couple of ideas that might be of some value to you. The very first thing that I think you can do is imagine who you want to become or what you want to become, and then try to act in the manner that that person would. So think of a vision, think of the thing you want to be, and then act as if that person would act. Align your actions with this higher version of yourself. With this, it does help to get specific. So yeah, you might have the overall goal of trying to become healthier, but what specifically does that mean? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to gain weight? Do you want to change your diet? Do you want to cut back on certain foods? There are a million things that entails. So get specific about it, and then you can take better actions. Because if you just kind of throw out a vague goal, if I say, yeah, I want to become financially independent or something like that, what does that actually mean? What do I need for that to happen? Because that changes from person to person. That changes depending on where you live. That changes depending on what your job might be. There are a million things that play into that overall goal. So you've got to get specific with it. And then when you do that, you can better choose actions that will push you to that end goal. A lot of times it's very difficult to go all in at the start. It is no problem starting small. I've listened to tons and tons of speakers say the very first thing you should do is make your bed. They say that if your life's disorganized, if you feel like everything's falling apart, if you feel like you're lazy, if you're lousy, whatever it might be, do the smallest thing. Make your bed in the morning. That takes a minute and a half, maybe, probably less, right? It's one of the easiest things to do. And it is difficult to do in the morning, right? You get out of bed, you think, why do I want to do this? There's really no point to it. But if you can start by making your bed, making that a habit, that's the start of the day. You started off the day doing something small and moving forward, organizing your life, organizing your goals, trying to become who you want to be. So start small and build on that. It does not have to be all in from the start. I think a lot of times we try to preach this message that, oh my gosh, you need to grind 24/7, you need to go all out. And people really cannot do that. Most people There are some people who really can embrace that lifestyle, but most people have a hard time doing that. I know that if I try to do that, my mental state goes, it just sucks. So start small, work on that, and build on that. Here's a personal example of mine, some vision that I try to uphold, even though it is some time away. I want to be a really good husband, and I want to be a really good dad. Those are honestly my two biggest goals in life. But like anything, that's probably going to be a struggle at times. So I have this vision, and now I'm going to try to uphold that vision, try to embrace it, try to work towards it every single day, even starting now, because the actions I take today will help me become my better self, will help me better fulfill that role in the future. So how can I do this? Well, for one, I can be more kind. Number two, I can be more accountable. And three, I can be more disciplined. And really, this is kind of a win-win, because if I do this every single day of my life now, it's going to benefit me in the present with my current goals, with my current relationships, and things like that. And it's also going to benefit my future self. So just remember, the small daily struggles will move you closer to who you want to become, will move you closer to that vision. I strongly advise you to create some kind of vision, some kind of goal that you can work on each day this summer. Not having a goal is usually a bad idea. Not having a vision is usually a bad idea. If you don't put in the effort now, then 3 months from now, when the summer is over, the road up ahead is going to be much more difficult. The efforts you take now will greatly benefit your future. Take small actions each and every day, and your future self will thank you. So that's my first way that I think you can go about doing this. Create a goal, create a vision, and then try to align your actions with that. The second thing you can do this summer is take time out of each day to reflect. In the process of working on your goal or your vision, it's easy to become so focused on the steps, trying to move forward, that we lose sight of the present. Sometimes you need to slow down. I think there are two great benefits of taking time to reflect. Number one, it's great for your mental health. It kind of forces you to be present. In the process of moving forward, it's easy to become anxious. It's easy to become worried, right? If I'm trying to move forward, then anxiety is probably going to come up at some time or another, right? Because anxiety is this kind of worry about the future, this tense feeling about the future. So sometimes by meditating and putting myself in the present, by just thinking, by reflecting, I'm more comfortable with my mental health. I feel more comfortable in the moment. So that is one of the reasons that I think you should reflect. The second reason that reflecting is so important is because you can actually think about what it is you're not doing that well, or what it is you could be doing better, and then changing that. Sometimes we become so focused on the process of moving forward that we don't realize, I'm not really going about this the right way. There are things that I could be doing a whole lot better. And by forcing yourself to slow down, forcing yourself to step back from the situation, you're able to recognize those errors, those shortcomings, the things that you could be doing better. So just spending a little bit of time doing that will help you to move faster, will help you to be more effective in moving towards your end goal. There are a million different ways that you can go about this process of reflecting. And by no means am I a master, but this is what I do. Normally in the morning, I try to read a few pages of my Bible, and then after that, I spend some time writing. I put my thoughts out on the paper, and I write about a whole bunch of different things. Really, it's whatever comes to my mind. So I might write about what I read last night. I try to reflect on the information I learned. I go back to what I underlined, what I starred, and I try to think about that the next day. Try to incorporate those important insights into the long-term memory, into my brain. I might also write about the things I did yesterday, the things I did for this page, what I could have done better, what I can do going forward. And sometimes I just write my random thoughts. Maybe it's something that I might want to talk about in the podcast. I've kind of got a bunch of ideas. I've got this little brainstorm going on, and I think, wow, this is a really good idea, but I have no idea how I would present that idea to somebody else. So I just start writing that down. And when I do that, it helps me to gather my thoughts. It helps me to become more clear. And then when I do that, I better understand what I want to say while doing this show. And then finally, with actually writing down things each morning, I try to write down 3 things I am thankful for. And again, that kind of forces me to be present and shows me how blessed I really am. It shows me that even if I want to keep moving forward, the present's pretty good. I've got a lot of good things going on in my life, and that helps my mental health overall. You can also just try to find some time alone. That is a great way to reflect. So if I want to just go think, literally just go think, I'll go for a drive. I will go fishing and just force myself to be alone. That's a great time to really look inward, to address some things, whatever those things might be. Find some quiet time, do something where you can be alone, and just think, reflect, do what you need to do. All right, that's really all I got. This has been a pretty hefty episode, but I did want to clear some things up in the beginning of this episode with my plans for the future, and then I wanted to spend a considerable amount of time talking about how you can move forward this summer. I'm going to try to do these things that I talk about. I wouldn't talk about them if I wasn't going to do them. As much as I would like to spend all of my time sitting on the beach this summer, going fishing, and just relaxing, this is a great opportunity to try to move forward, and I think we should try to take advantage of that. And I hope you do. I hope that your present actions benefit your future self. Oh, lastly, I always end these episodes saying, live a charged life. And I'm going to change that. I do want to keep the end slogan, but instead, from now on, I'm going to say, take charge of your being, because I think that better represents what I'm trying to talk about with this podcast. So, yeah, I'm going to say it now. Thank you again for listening to today's episode. I greatly appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please share, subscribe, like, review, all those things. Share with a friend. Share it with somebody who you think would find this episode valuable. And I will see you next week on episode 27. Remember, take charge of your being.